Welcome to everyone present for this meeting in the Civic Centre and to those observing the meeting on Microsoft Teams. No fire drills are expected this evening, so in the event of the alarm sounding, please quickly make your way out of the building. There are 3 exits from this room which members can use to vacate the premises. Switch mobile phones onto silent or switch off and take any calls outside of the council chambers. Do not leave any bags unaccompanied or report any unaccompanied bags. Remember to take any bags with you when the meeting has concluded or as you leave the meeting. This meeting may be subject to filming or audio recording by others in accordance with the council's filming protocol. Anyone who remains in the meeting following this announcement will have deemed to have consented to allow their image to be recorded and broadcast. I'd like to remind members to turn their microphones on when speaking and to sit back from the microphones to assist the audio recording. Thank you. Move on to item 1 of the agenda, apologies for absence. Are there any apologies for absence?
Yes, Chair, we have apologies from Councillor Langrick and Councillor Enco.
Thank you. Are there any more apologies?
I did, Councillor.
Michael Labs, thank you. And Danny Mackenzie, thank you. Are there any more apologies? No, thank you. Moving on to item 2 of the agenda, are there any declarations of interest? So hand over to the monitoring officer.
Thank you, Chair. In accordance with the council constitution, those members that are liable to pay council tax in the district must declare so at any meeting involving the council setting of council tax, which we're doing tonight. Can I ask those members who are liable to pay council tax, please raise their hand so their interest can be recorded.
Thank you.
Sorry. Furthermore, can I also ask those members that are in receipt of the council tax reduction scheme, please raise their hand so their interest can be recorded. Anybody in receipt of council tax reduction scheme? Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to item 3 of the agenda, minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of February 2025. So you all had the opportunity to read them. I'd like to invite Councillor Coxhead to propose. Thank you. Have a seconder? Councillor Henshaw. Thank you. Just one moment, just come in for the monitoring officer.
A declaration that I was supposed to make that I forgot. Can I record a collective interest on behalf of members in respect of allowance paid to members? So I'll take that as a collective interest.
Thank you. Okay, can we now have a show of hands to approve the minutes as a true record? All those for? Thank you. It's carried. Move on to item 4 of the published agenda, receipt of correspondence. Or have there been any correspondence?
There has, Chair, yes. The elected mayor and I received a letter on the 6th of February from the Minister of State for Local Government and English Devolution. The letter related to the developing of proposals for local government reorganisation. I would like to advise Council that an extraordinary meeting of the Council has been set for Monday the 17th of March. And at this meeting, Council will be asked to consider the Council's response to the Minister's invitation to submit an interim plan for the local government reorganisation within our area. So that's for the awareness of the Council, Chair.
Thank you. Move on to item 5 of the agenda. Are there any advanced questions from members of the public?
On, Chair.
Thank you. Item 6 of the agenda. Are there any advanced questions submitted by elected members?
There are 2, Chair.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Councillor Moxon to put his question to the elected mayor.
Thank you. With local government reorganisation rapidly approaching on the horizon, and with the initial proposals to be submitted by the end of March, can the mayor clarify his position on the potential expansion of Nottingham City into the boroughs of Gedling, Broxtowe and Rushcliffe?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Moxon. Firstly, I must begin my response by providing a correction to the terminology, what you've used within the question. Unfortunately, it's been used by Sam Smith, the current leader of Notts County Council, a few times, and he has been reminded, and he's been using it in the local media, and it's made quite a confusing picture for everyone. So I'll just clarify. So the phrase that you've referenced, I can understand why, because we've been talking, he's been using this phraseology, and it's misleading people. So the phrase you've referenced about the potential expansion of Nottingham City, it's completely incorrect and misleading. In case you weren't aware, the government's proposal looks at creating new principal authorities, which means in practice abolishing the current two-tier system of local authorities and creating fewer unitary councils with a high population of residents. The current Nottingham City Council, as we know it now, will no longer exist in its current form, and therefore referring to it as being expanded is kind of misleading. The reason I'm making this point is that all these statements to the press, people are working in these jobs, you know, and they're carrying out their day-to-day work, and they're worried about their futures. And when people keep talking about abolishing this and abolishing the other, you know, they're real-life consequences. They're thinking, well, what's happening to my job? So I think it's really important that we get the terminology correct, and that's why we had a kind of agreement, because we've all been getting together to discuss the way forward. That's everyone from the county and all the districts, and we agreed to have one press release where we spoke with consistent language, you know, so we weren't confusing residents all over Nottinghamshire. But unfortunately, it grabs headlines saying, you know, abolish this, abolish the other. So that's that point. But back to the real material part. It's important to remember that this change is changing a political landscape which affects all councils across the region, not just the districts or the boroughs. The creation of these principal authorities, there will be completely new entities, and none of the 9 current councils would exist. So that means no Nottinghamshire County Council, no Nottingham City Council, or none of the individual boroughs. None of them will exist. This will be happening across the country wherever there's two-tier of local government, because we're after unitary, you know, combining those services together. So the Chief Executive and myself, we've been working with the leaders, all leaders, and the Chief Executives across the other 8 authorities with the support of a jointly commissioned consultant, PricewaterhouseCoopers, so the consultant that's been employed. I can assure you, though, that I'm working with the other leaders in the public interest, exploring all the options available to meet the current government's requirements. So we have a meeting coming up tomorrow to consider the consultant's evaluation of several options. They've been working on it for about 3 weeks, trawling through all the data, and we're getting ready for a collective interim plan that has to be submitted to government on the 21st of March. At this stage, before that feedback from the consultants, it's going to be inappropriate to share a specific view on an option, because you can imagine there's going to be many views from the different district councils, the city, and the current county council. But the aim is to try and get a consensus around a view, because everything we look at as an opportunity, you've got to move with the times and try and get the best solution for everyone. But we won't get the feedback until tomorrow, and we'll see out of those options against the government criteria, and hopefully we can support what all coalesce around one. So what I can assure you is that my voice is about Mansfield and what's required for Mansfield and Mansfield communities. So whatever outcome comes from it, I'll be pressing the case for Mansfield. But as the Chief Exec Officer already said, we're going to have the extraordinary council meeting on the 17th of March, and I'll be giving the feedback from the consult's report.
Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Moxon?
Yes, I do. Not quite sure that you ever got to the crux of the answering the question. And as I understand it, you've been in the press saying that you're in favour of the city expanding. But it's good to know that you've got the interests of Mansfield at heart. So with that in mind, would you agree with me that given that over 70% of the demand for adult and children's services are in the north part of the county, what analysis have you done on the impact for Mansfield residents on how much the council tax might need to rise to maintain services to protect children and vulnerable adults if part of the current county boundaries was to move into the city?
So you didn't listen to the response at all. You didn't listen to the response at all. You've had your chance to say it's got nothing to do with the city council expanding. It's got nothing to do. What I just read out is exactly the new principal authority. So no matter how much you say they're expanding, they're not expanding, Nigel. So back to your point with regard to 75% of need in this area. Why is this happening in the first place? Because delivery of social care at the county council has failed. It's failed all over the country. Huge debts. Local government reorganisation has come about because the country's skint, because they haven't been delivering the services for the money. So we're looking at it again. A unitary is bringing services together, combining the services, which will make more efficient running of the council. And what we're going to be looking at, and the consultants have been looking at, is be able to deliver social care on a more local footprint. And that's been the complaint of people for years. They don't feel connected to the county council. We feel like we're forgotten in the north, and the amount of budget deficit, it's not sustainable. So that's why the whole system needs to be looked at again. And please read the papers, get your facts right. Where you said something about me quoting to the press about Nottingham City expanding. Where have you got that from?
Thank you. Move on to the next question. Councillor Camilleri, can you put your question forward?
Due to local government reorganisation, what are the plans going forward for the old Beals building, that old Chestnut again, to be known as Mansfield Connect, and what will happen to the levying up funds for the project? Is this project still required given the future reorganisation?
Thank you for the question. Let me give you some reassurance. You know, you need a bit of positivity and vision, really, to understand. So, pardon? So, since the government's announcement on the proposed local government reform, Mansfield District Council officers have been in contact with the Mansfield Connect partners and the stakeholders, as well as the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government representatives. The Ministry has confirmed that there are no plans to withdraw funding from this approved scheme, and it should continue with full implementation. They have offered every encouragement in progressing the scheme. Nottinghamshire County Council representatives have also indicated to officers on a number of occasions that they are committed to the project, which I thought you might know working at the county. While there may be question marks over the future of local authority governance model and its geography, the requirement for local government officers with an accessible public-facing focus remains. The new Connect building designs have been developed to reflect a modern, current and potentially future working arrangements, and therefore there's flexibility in the design to enable the building to respond to whatever future arrangements are being put in place. And that's what you do when you design buildings. You have to think about how it might change in the future. So you should appreciate that the services offered by the district and the county councils are largely different. Even under some of the form of the unitary approach, therefore, separate services will be brought together to make them more efficient, but essentially still requiring an equivalent space as planned in the Mansfield Connect building. Further, as the largest county town, Mansfield should be at the forefront of any local authority office base with its concentration of population. Mansfield Connect project will raise the profile of Mansfield, and any local authority base in the future will be of a wider benefit to the town and its local communities, potentially increasing footfall and supporting local businesses. In this sense, the transformational objectives of this project still hold strong. In addition to regeneration objectives of transforming a disused former department store are still strong. We are actually leading the way on what can you do with all these huge buildings where there used to be department stores all over the country, but we're showing the way forward in Mansfield. Investing in such a blighted, high-profile site in town with a corresponding increase in footfall and private sector confidence growth is essential for the success of Mansfield as a town centre. So this is relevant to yourself also. The wider stakeholder commitment from West Notts College in delivering education and training still holds strong. They're committed to the project, as do the community service commitment of Mansfield CVS, Citizens Advice Bureau, all in this building in the town centre. Department of Work and Pensions remain committed to the project and the wider benefits of creating additional enterprise space within the development of the town centre and local businesses. So every confidence in the project going forward.
Thank you, elected mayor. Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Camilleri?
Thank you for that. Very interesting. I do know what building is. I do know what buildings are, because I'm responsible for building the biggest building that we've built in Mansfield for the last 30 years. The Raven's End School. That's down to the Conservatives and me. Little old me, right? So I do know about it. Well, I want to ask you, before I go to my supplement very quickly, what have you actually built? You keep telling us you're going to build things. You tell us all the time, you've got this vision, you've done absolutely nothing. However, let's move on. Right, let's move on. In light of the Council's current budgetary challenges and ongoing costs of local government reorganisation, what measures are in place to ensure that Mansfield Connect remains financially viable, delivers tangible benefits to the community and does not become a burden on local taxpayers? Additionally, has the Council considered whether this project remains the best use of resources given the changing political and economic landscapes? Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Councillor Camilleri, I've been advised by the monitoring officer that that question is not, it's nothing to do with the original question. It's an additional question.
Well, I'd like to respond, and he's already.
Should I respond?
Well, yeah, you should have took him out beforehand. So, with regard to what have we built, I think Warsop Health Hub. Yeah, I think that's been a major achievement. So, it's all about having a vision, right? So, would you invest £2 million to effectively get £25 million of investment into your town centre, into a regeneration project? Or would you choose to leave a building that's going to stand there for decades like a tombstone? Anyone who's got a vision for regeneration would make that business speculation. And that's what we did. And it was a very brave decision to actually get the 10% match funding, 2 million, to bid for 20 million. And then we've returned because anybody knows anything about regenerating old buildings know that they're extremely high cost. And so we've managed to get additional funding. And as I already repeated in the previous question, if you've been listening, the commitment of 6 different partners generating footfall of over 800 people potentially working there, increasing the footfall, supporting local business. So how you can't see, as someone representing Mansfield, that's good for business, good for the town, and that Mansfield are actually leading the way on how you can take something that's been left.
Point of order for a minute. I never said that at all.
Just a moment, Councillor Camilleri. Could you tell me which rule of law and the way you've considered it broken, and then I'll consult with the monitoring officer.
Do you want to say why? So because all I've done is ask you a question. Do you think it's relevant? And you're going into a big thing of
Chair.
How I don't see it. Just tell me.
Councillor Camilleri,
Okay.
which point of order?
So, excuse me. Whilst you were actually saying what your response was, at least I was polite enough to listen to it, even though it contained quite a lot of inaccuracies. I've responded and concluding it's the fact that we've invested £25 million in a building, and the partners are all with it. The funding's there in government, and it's going to help regenerate the town. And I would have thought you would be supporting that kind of project.
Thank you, elected Mayor. I'm now going to move on to item 7 of the agenda, delegated decision from the portfolio holder for corporate and finance, council tax reduction scheme 25 to 26. I'd now like to invite Councillor Whitby to present and propose his report.
Thank you, Chair. I present the Council Tax Reduction Scheme, CTRS, for the 2025-26 year for approval. This scheme remains unchanged from last year, ensuring continuity for residents. As no changes have been made, public consultation was not required. Pensioners will remain fully protected with the reduction based on 100% of liability. Working age claimants will continue to receive support under the existing framework, ensuring a balance between assistance and financial sustainability. The £20,000 hardship fund will continue, providing short-term help for those facing financial difficulties. This ensures we offer additional support where it is most needed. The scheme reflects our ongoing commitment to supporting vulnerable residents whilst maintaining financial responsibility. Despite reductions in council funding over the last 14 years, we continue to deliver a fair and sustainable scheme that provides essential assistance. I move that the council support the recommendations as set out in section 2 of the report.
Thank you, Councillor Whitby. Would anybody like to comment on the motion? Nobody. Can I have a seconder, please?
Second and reserve the right.
Thank you. Apologies, anybody like to comment? Elected Mayor?
To add.
Councillor Whitby?
To add, Chair.
Thank you. We'll now move to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. Moving to item 8 of the published agenda, delegated decision by the portfolio holder for regeneration and growth, the local development scheme. And I'd like to invite Councillor Richardson to present and propose his report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Accepting that everybody's read the document that's been prepared, background to this is this local development scheme, LDS, is going to feed into the local plan review, And this has to be put in place by different various processes for summer 2026. It is a tight timeline, but the danger of not hitting these dates leaves the authority open to having an out-of-date plan, which will possibly lead towards more appeals coming forward from developers. So basically, I propose this document to the members.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Do I have a seconder?
Reserve the right.
Thank you, elected mayor. Does anybody wish to comment? Councillor Anderson?
Thank you, Chair. While I recognise the need for further housing development in Mansfield, we do have concerns that the right housing needs to be built in the right places at the right time. An example of this would be the development in Pelham Farm, Abbott Road, and the surrounding areas, which potentially may be overdeveloped. And the consequences residents are already seeing is flooding to both existing and residents that houses will be built in the future. Thank you.
Councillor Anderson, does anybody else wish to comment? Councillor Dennis?
I'd just like to compliment the work being done, because to have any kinds of buildings built in any town, there's a lot of situations that you need to go through in terms of filing various kinds of paperwork. And it's annoying to all of us, but that could take a very long time to do. So I just want to compliment that this kind of work is being done so professionally.
Thank you, Councillor Dennis. Any more comments? Elected mayor?
I'd just like to congratulate our planning team and in always been on the front foot to make sure that we've got a local plan that's in place. And with our supplementary planning procedures, we've always shown that we've been ahead of the curve, thinking about what's coming with biodiversity, net gain, and once again, you've got to be in a strong position to be able to make sure you get the right sort of development. So I can commend the work we're doing on this.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson?
Yeah, I'd just like to echo those comments. As I alluded to in the first part, it is a tight time scale. 2026 seems a long time away, but there's at least a couple of periods of consultation that needs to be undertook. And I'm pleased to say that our officers have got us on the front foot.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. I'm now going to put the motion to the vote. This will be by a show of hands. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Motion is carried. 9 on the published agenda, extract minute from the Governance and Standards Committee in Investment Strategies 25 to 26. And I'd like to invite Councillor Bell to present and propose his report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Before I start my report, I'd like to say thank you to all the committee members for reading all the sometimes very weighty documents. Always come with questions, which is very enlightening. And thank you very much for all the officers for all the hard work they put in. Thank you, Chair. Now read my report. This report details the Council's investment strategies for 25-26, which the Council is required to produce under statutory guidance in relation to its investment and borrowing activities, including the Treasury Management Strategy 2025-26 to 27-28, the Minimum Review Provision, MRP, Strategy 25-26, the Capital Strategy 25-26 to 2045-46, the Asset Investment Strategy 25-26, the Commercial Property Investment Strategy 25-26, the Service Investment Strategy 25-26. The strategies were endorsed for approval at the Council by the Governance and Standards Committee on the 19th of February 2025. Local authorities are required to produce the following strategy documents and get them approved by full council on an annual basis prior to the commencement of any new financial year. The strategies to be approved are Treasury Management Strategy. This provides the policy framework for the engagement of the council with financial markets in order to fund its capital investment programme, to maintain the security of the cash balances and protect them from credit, liquidity, inflation and interest rate risk. The minimum revenue provision strategy. This strategy recommends a method to use when calculating the revenue amount the council will set aside each year to cover any outstanding borrowing, so that it has sufficient resources available to repay the borrowing upon maturity. The capital strategy provides a forward look at the core principles that underpin the council's long-term capital expenditure and the investment decisions, having regard for risk mitigation and the implications on the council's financial sustainability. The asset investment strategy. This establishes a framework for the identification of asset investments which, if required, would provide the council with benefits both to the organisation and to residents, as well as the potential for ongoing revenue benefits. This strategy is relevant to all assets the council intends to pursue in order to further its service objectives. The commercial property investment strategy. This establishes a framework for maintaining and monitoring the current portfolio of commercial properties. Borrowing has previously been taken out from commercial property investments, and the costs related to this must be covered by the properties in question. The service investment strategy. The council currently has one service investment made to Mansfield Homes, for which the council is the sole shareholder. No loan balance is owed, and all the funds loaned have been repaid. I'd like to pass it on to the council.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Hartshaw. Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Now put the motion to the vote, to put by a show of hands. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against? Abstentions? Thank you. Motion is carried. Now move on to item 10 of the published agenda, extract minute from the Governance and Standards Committee Treasury Management and Monitoring Report. I'd like to invite Councillor Bell to present and propose his report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The Treasury Management Report for Q3 of 24-25 was presented to the Governance and Standards Committee on the 19th of February 2025. In summary, the report covered Section 3 of the report provides some background information. Manchester District Council adopted the Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountancies, CIPFA 2009 Code of Practice on Treasury Management, which requires that the full council be provided with a report following the year end, which summarises the treasury management and investment activities of the council. Local authorities are required to approve an annual treasury management strategy before the commencement of each financial year. Manchester District Council approved its treasury management strategy for 24-25 on the 5th of March 2024, and this recent communicates how the council performed against the strategy during the period 1st of April 2024 to 31st of December 2024. Section 3.5 provides a definition of treasury management, which is the management of the council's investment and cash flows, its banking, money market and the capital market transactions, the effective controls of the risk associated with those activities, and the pursuit of an optimum performance consistent with those risks. Section 4 discusses borrowing in the quarter. As per section 4.1, during April to December of 24-25 financial year, the council took out no new loans. Council's total borrowing stood at 66.019 million as of 31st December 2024. The majority of this loan debt has been taken out with the Public Works Loans Board, which offers preferential interest rates to local authorities. Section 5 discusses the council's investment throughout the year. As per section 5.2 at 31st December 2024, the council had 43 million invested in financial institutions, the majority of which were held in the Debt Management Office, a government-backed agency on a short-term basis to meet planned expenditure such as the credit payments and salary costs. Section 6 discussed the rate of return. The council received an average rate return of 5.24% against an average basic rate of 5.06. For the Q3 of 24-25, as a result, the Bank of England monetary policy holding the bank rate at 5.25% from August 2023 to July 2024. When investing money in banks and building societies, this council sets high credit criteria, which reduces the risk of the council not getting its investment back due to default. The security and liquidity of the council's money is the main priority when investing public money, which means the rate of return is often lower than what could be achieved in a more risky financial situation or institution, but with the risk of default being much higher during Q3 of 24-25, the council did not invest with institutions which fell below the minimum level approved by the council when it set its treasury management strategy. I pose that to the council.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Do you have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hartshaw. Does anybody wish to comment? No, thank you, Councillor Hartshaw. Councillor Bell.
Comment, Chair, thank you.
Okay, we now put the motion to the vote by a show of hands. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Motion is carried. Now I'm about to move on to item 11 of the published agenda, overview and scrutiny annual report. I'd like to invite Councillor Henshaw to present his report on behalf of the overview and scrutiny chairs. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair, for bringing me in. It gives me great pleasure to present to Council tonight the annual report for the Overview and Scrutiny Committee chairs in compliance with our Constitution. I would just like to thank all the councillors who turned up to the meetings of the scrutiny committees. Also thank the officers who worked in supporting the committees, and to my fellow chairs, Councillor Beaches and Mackenzie, for their diligence in guiding the committee through their deliberations over the last year. It's got to be known that the work of scrutiny committees is vital to the good governance of this authority. The crucial measures that they look at and the topics they investigate are all vital to our work as a local authority. When you look at scrutiny, it's one of the vital planks of local government. It can be a critical friend. It can make recommendations. It can help this council move forward. The topics that were looked at over the past year pay tribute to the members that actually worked in the processes. They investigated issues, they made recommendations. Their recommendations and their points of view enhanced the decision making of this authority and of the Cabinet. And as we said, we made the right decision to keep 3 committees so that we could have a broad breadth of investigatory powers in relation to scrutiny. So in saying all that, Chair, I'd like to present this report to Council for their noting. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions to put to the chairs on the report? No, thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I second it.
Thank you, Councillor Beatrice. Does anybody wish to comment on the motion? No comments? Councillor Henshaw?
Comment, Chair, thanks.
Thank you. Now I'd like to put the motion to the vote. It's by a show of hands. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Motion's carried. Thank you. Now I'd like to move on to item 12 of the agenda, pay policy report, and I'd like to invite the CEO to present his report.
Thank you, Chair. Just for clarity, this report is contained within pages 283 to 303 within the bundle pack. This is an annual report to Council under Section 38 of the Localism Act 2011. It requires the local authorities to publish a pay policy statement by the 31st of March each year. And this report presents the Mansfield District Council pay policy statement for 2025-2026 for agreement. Within the report, Council will find the stipulation of what requirements are required to go within this policy and set out in the report, alongside the information in which the policy must include in relation to the pay of each chief officer within this authority. The report is supported by the actual pay policy statement itself, contained within pages 289 to 303, where the Council can find the required information which must be published by the 31st of March. Just to confirm, Chair, the recommendation of my report is that this report is for the recommendation is this report that the pay policy statement for 25-26 be approved. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the CEO? Thank you. Can I have a proposer?
I propose.
Thank you. And seconded?
I'll second that, Chair, and reserve the right.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to comment? Thank you. Councillor Whitby?
Nothing to add, Chair.
Thank you. Elected Mayor?
Nothing to add.
Thank you. We'll put it to the vote by a show of hands. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Motion is carried. Now I'd like to move on to item 13 of the agenda, local authorities, members' allowances, regulations, members' scheme of allowance 25 to 26, and I'd like to invite the CEO to present his report.
Thank you, Chair. This report is contained within the bundle pack pages 305 to 312. This report informs members of the legislation regarding members' allowances and to make the Council scheme of allowances effective from the 1st of March 2025. The report contains Appendix 1 on pages 309 to 312, setting out the scheme of members' allowances for the 2025 financial year. To confirm, Chair, the recommendation of my paper is that the scheme of allowances effective from the 1st of April at Appendix 1 be approved. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the CEO? No. Thank you. A proposer?
I propose.
Thank you, elected Mayor. A seconder?
I'll second and reserve the right.
Thank you, Councillor Whitby. Does anybody wish to comment? Councillor Ellis?
I just want to comment on the foregoing of allowances. That it is of note that any member may, by notice in writing to the chief exec, elect to forego his or her entitlement or any part of his or her allowance. I think that that is an option that we have as councillors, that we don't have to take all the allowances that are offered.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Are there any more comments? No, thank you. Councillor Whitby.
Nothing to add, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Elected Mayor.
Nothing further to add.
Again, put the motion to the vote. It's by show of hands. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? 3 abstentions. Thank you. The motion is carried. Move on to item 14 of the agenda, council tax resolution. I'd now like to invite Councillor Whitby to present his report.
Thank you, Chair. I'm presenting the Council Tax Resolution Report for 2025-26, which formally sets the council tax for Mansfield District Council for the coming financial year. As required by law, the council must set its council tax before the 11th of March. This resolution consolidates the precepts from all precepting authorities, which determine the final amounts households will pay. The annual changes to each of the precepts breaks down as follows. Nottinghamshire County Council, an increase of £87.46. Nottinghamshire Police and Crime Commissioner, an increase of £13.95. Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service, an increase of £5. Mansfield District Council, an increase of £6. And Warsaw Parish Council, where applicable, an increase of £2. The overall band D charge for Mansfield, the overall charge for Mansfield residents for Band D incorporates all the precepts and will sit at £2,494, reflecting an increase of £112 from last year. Given that the majority of homes in Mansfield and Warsaw fall into Bands A and B, the estimated total council tax increase for the year will be approximately £75 for Band A and £88 for Band B properties. These figures presented reflect the precepts set by other authorities of which we have no control. This resolution is a statutory requirement and not a discretionary decision, so I therefore move that Council approve the council tax resolution as set out in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whitby. Do we have any questions for Councillor Whitby? Thank you. Can we have a seconder, please?
I second and reserve the right.
Thank you, elected Mayor. Does anybody wish to comment? No. Thank you. Elected Mayor?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Councillor Whitby for giving a great clarification to the numbers, because the numbers tell a very important story. But only an increase of £6 for all the services that we provide in regenerating the district. That perception that, Mansfield District Council putting up the council tax, but £87 of that is the county council. And it's really important that we make that clear to everyone, because they just think, oh, the council are putting another council tax up again. 90% of it is going to the county council, and I think we deliver really good services for that small increase.
Thank you, elected Mayor. Councillor Whitby?
Nothing to add, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. The vote will be a recorded vote, and I will hand over now to the Democratic Services. Thank you.
Okay, if members could tell me whether they are voting for, against or abstaining. Elected Mayor.
For.
Councillor Anderson. Councillor Answer. Councillor Barton. Councillor Beatrice.
For.
Councillor Bell.
For.
Councillor Bergin. Councillor Callaghan. Councillor Camilleri. Councillor Clay. Councillor Correll.
For.
Councillor Coxhead.
For.
Councillor Dines.
For.
Councillor Ellis. Councillor Garner. Councillor Hammersley. Councillor Hartshawn. Councillor Lynn Henshaw. Councillor Paul Henshaw. Councillor Hughes. Councillor Jackson. Councillor Moxon. Councillor North. Councillor Richardson. Councillor Stendhal. Councillor Stevenson. Councillor Swinscoe. Councillor Tempest Mitchell. Councillor Wetton,
4,
Councillor Whitby,
4,
and Councillor Wright.
Thank you. The motion is carried. Thank you. We'll move on to item 15 of the agenda, the motions. Are there any motions for the meeting?
there are none, Chair.
Thank you. Now come to the end of the published agenda. We'll now close the meeting. Thank you everybody for attending.